Shah. I am the instructor for the subject Computer Organization and Architecture. In this subject, we have started Unit 6, that is Pipelining and Vector Processing. In this unit, we are going to see today the topic that is Pipelining Conflicts and Risk Pipelining. So let me start with the first topic, that is Pipelining Conflicts. In general, there are three major difficulties that causes the instruction pipeline to deviate from its normal operation. These are like, first one is a resource conflict that causes the access to the memory by two segments at the same time. Most of these conflicts can be resolved by using the separate memory for instruction and data. Second problem is a data dependency. These conflicts arise when the instruction depends on the result of a previous instruction, but that result is not yet available. And third problem is a branch difficulties that arise from the branch and other instruction that changes the value of the program counter. In this session, we are going to see how we can solve this all problems. So first we start with the data dependency. A difficulty that causes the degradation of performance in an instruction pipeline is due to possible collision of data or the address. A collision occurs when the instruction cannot proceed because of its previous instruction did not complete the certain operation. A data dependency occurs when the instruction needs data that are not yet available. For example, the instruction in FO segment may need to fetch an operand that being generated at the same time by the previous instruction that is in a segment EX. Okay, that means if previous segment is not executed, then you can't fetch the operand in this instruction. Okay, so that kind of problem can be done. Therefore, the second instruction must wait for the data to become available by the first instruction. And similarly, this kind of problem can also occur with the address. Similarly, for the address dependency may occur when the operand's address cannot be calculated because the information needed by the address mode is not available yet. For example, an instruction with a register indirect mode cannot proceed to fetch of the operand of your previous instruction is loading the address into register. In previous instruction, when you load the data into that register, then only you can use in the next instruction that register as an indirect addressing mode. Okay, so that is depends on your execution of your previous instruction. Therefore, the operand access to the memory must be delayed until the required address is available. So, to solve this data dependency problem, the most straightforward method is to insert the hardware, that is known as an interlock. The interlock is a circuit that detects the instruction whose source operands are destinations of instruction further up in the pipeline. The detection of this situation causes the instruction whose source is not available to be delayed by enough clock cycle to resolve the conflict. This approach maintains the program sequence by using the hardware to insert the required data. Second solution can be operand forwarding. This technique uses the spatial hardware to detect a conflict and then avoid it by routing the data through spatial path between the pipeline segments. For example, insertion of transferring an ALU result into a destination register, the hardware checks the destination operand, and if it needed as a source in the next instruction, it passes the result directly into the ALU input bypassing the register. So your data is directly available to you before storing into that register. So you can use this indirect register mode with this. This method requires the additional hardware path through multiplexers as well as a circuit that detects the conflicts. Third method we can use is a delayed load. This procedure employed in some computer is to give the responsibility of the solving data conflicts problem to the compiler that translates the high-level language program into machine language program. This compiler for the such computer is designed to detect the data conflicts and reorder the instruction as necessary to delay the loading of the conflict data by inserting delay load no operation instructions. So in this method, the whole task is completed by compiler by providing no operation instructions and rearranging the instructions. Next we will see how we can handle the branch instruction. So for one of the major problems in the operating an instruction pipeline is the occurrence of the branch instruction. The branch instruction can be conditional or unconditional. Unconditional branches are always alter the sequence of program flow by loading the program counter with the target address. In conditional branching, the control selects the target instruction if the condition is satisfied, or the next instruction if the condition is not satisfied. As the branch instruction breaks the normal sequence of the instruction stream, causes the difficulty in operation of the instruction pipeline. The pipeline computer employs various hardware techniques to minimize the performance degradation caused by this instruction branching. So next we will see how we can handle this branch instruction by some means. First method we can use is a prefetch method. One way of handling conditional branch is the prefetch target instruction in addition to the instruction following the branch. Both of these are saved until the branch is executed. If the branch condition is successful, the pipeline continues from the branch target instruction. An extension of this procedure is to continue the fetching instruction from both the places until the branch decision is made. At that time, the control chooses the instruction stream that is of correct program flow, and by this way we can prefetch your instruction. Second method we can use is a branch target buffer. In this, it is also known as a BTB. The BTB is an associative memory that included in a fetch segment of the pipeline. Each entry in BTB is consisting of the address of the previously executed branch instructions and the target instruction for that branch. It also stores next to few instructions after the branch target instruction. When the pipeline decodes a branch instruction, it searches the associative memory BTB for the address of the instruction. If it is in the BTB, the instruction is available directly and prefetch continues from a new path. If the instruction is not in a BTB, the pipelining shifts to the new instruction stream and store the target instruction into BTB. The advantage of this scheme is that this branch instructions that have occurred previously are already available in the pipelining without the interruption. Third method we can use is a loop buffer. In this, this is a variation of BTB. This is a small, very high-speed register file that is maintained by instruction fetch segment of the pipeline. When a program loop is detected in a program, it is stored in a loop buffer including all of its branch. The program loop can be executed directly without having to access memory until loop need is removed by a final branch out. So we can use this loop buffer also. Fourth method we can use is a branch prediction. Another procedure that some computer use is a branch prediction. A pipeline with a branch prediction uses some additional logic to guess the outcome of a conditional branch instruction before it is executed. The pipeline then begins prefetch the instruction stream from the predicted path. A correct prediction eliminates the waste of time caused by the branching penalties. Next method we can use is a delayed branch. In this procedure, the compiler detects the branch instructions and rearranges the machine language code sequence by inserting some useful instruction that keeps pipeline operating without interruption. Example of delayed branch is insertion of a no operation instruction after the branch instruction, so that your instruction pipeline is delayed and you can execute next instructions. This causes the computer to fetch the target instruction during the execution of no operation instruction and allowing the continuous flow of the pipeline. So we can use this much of methods to handle the branch instruction. One another type of instruction we are using is a RISC instruction, as we have discussed RISC architecture also. So in this RISC instruction that implements an instruction pipeline using a small number of sub operations, with each being executed in a one clock cycle. Because of a fixed length instruction format, the decoding of this operation can occur at the same time as a register selection. All of the data manipulation instructions have a register to register operation. Since all operands are in a register, there is no need for calculating the effective address or fetching of the operand from the memory. As we have discussed this RISC instruction, in RISC instructions, accessing to the memory is only limited to the loading and storing. That means you can only load or store data into the memory. For all of your arithmetic and logical tasks, your data must be in an internal register, or you can say processor register. Then only then you can use that instruction. So due to that, we will not require to calculate the effective address for your instructions. Therefore, the instruction pipeline can be implemented with the 2 or 3 segments. And to prevent the conflicts between the memory access to fetch an instruction and to load or store operand, most RISC machines uses 2 separate buses with 2 separate memory, one for storing the instruction and another for storing the data. Another characteristic of RISC is that supports given by the compiler that translates the high-level language program into machine language program. That means we can use delayed branch and delayed data and type of instructions. Instead of designing hardware to handle the difficulties associated with the data conflicts and branch penalties, the RISC processor relies on the efficiency of the compiler to detect and minimize the delays encountered with those programs. So this instruction cycle can be divided into 3 sub operations and implemented in 3 segments: I segment, A segment and E segment. I is the instruction fetch, A is the ALU operation, and E is the execution instruction. So let me consider how we can use RISC instruction. Consider now the operation of the following instruction. Load R1, given memory address 1. Memory address 1 is continually stored into register R1. Load R2 with address 2. Add R3 by R1 and R2 and store register R2 to memory location 3. In this we can do use pipelining concept like this. At first clock, your first instruction is fetched. Here I represent instruction fetch, A represents ALU task, and E represents your execution task. At first clock, your first instruction is fetched. At second clock, first instruction is in ALU operation and second instruction is fetched. At third clock, your first instruction is executed, second instruction is in ALU task, and third instruction is a fetch, and so on. But here for executing instruction at R1 and R2, you will require to be executed load R2 instruction first. After the execution of load R2, only you can do the addition operation. So to avoid the conflict, compiler will add no operation instruction after the load R2, and so that your instruction load R2 is executed first, and then your add R2 plus R1 instruction is executed smoothly, so that data is available for that instruction. So this is delayed load instruction. It also uses delayed branch. In this, as we have seen for data, that same thing will be done with the branch. Whenever there is a branch instruction, whenever the compiler detects there is a branch instruction, it will insert some no operation instruction after your branch instruction. So here, as a fifth instruction is a branch instruction, so compiler will add 2 extra no operation instructions so that your branch instruction is first executed, and then according to its result, you will complete your next task. Okay, so by this way we can use your RISC instruction. So we are ending our today's session over here. If you have any query, then you can contact me.